Welcome to another episode of the Cooking Swiss. I'm here in the garden collecting some herbs, fresh herbs, mostly sage. And then also I see we have a whole bunch of new bushes of, I can't even remember what it is. I think it might be thyme. No, I can't remember, but I know it's an herb. So we're collecting some of these. And inside I will show you what we are actually going to cook today. These are about to bloom. This is definitely sage. That I know that this is sage. All right, so that's enough. We are back inside and I am getting ready to cook dinner. And the plan is to cook a quiche Swiss quiche. And you might wonder, what is the difference between a Swiss quiche and a quiche Lorraine? Quiche Lorraine is with bacon, and the quiche Swiss it has a lot of cheese as well in it, but no bacon. But instead we use a lot of herbs and onions and all that good stuff. So why am I chopping the garlic? I don't know, because I'm actually trying to press the garlic. So all right, so I already peeled it, and we're just gonna. I had 3 tripod failures. I had ended up throwing all 3 away. So now I'm wearing the body cam, and I apologize if it's like shaky, but I don't know otherwise how to film. So I guess we'll do with what we have. So 2 garlic cloves, could just be one large one. And we saw earlier how I collected these fresh herbs. So we're just chopping up a bunch of fresh herbs. So how has spring been for all of you? I've lived in South Jersey now for about 14 years. And I have to say, this was definitely the nicest, best spring we've ever had, because the temperature was kind of cold, but also we have warm days. But so it really delayed the blooming and the blossom. And so it was very nice. I mean, we've been having spring now for a month. Usually it's over very quickly. So we're taking about 1 teaspoon of basil. Obviously, if you have fresh basil, you can use that, but just using this. I mean, parsley, not basil. But I'm also going to use chives. If you have fresh chives, again, use fresh. We don't really measure that accurately. Important is just to have a bunch of fresh herbs. Thyme. Again, we're doing about 1 teaspoon or so. 3/4. We did the chive. What else do we have? And here is the basil. Yes, the spring break ended. I'm dropping everything. All right. And we're also using an onion. It's actually 3/4 onion. I used some earlier today. You can also use shallots. It's probably actually better with shallot, but I don't have one right now, so I'm using an onion. This is all just preparation for for the actual quiche. Quiche can be done fairly quickly. I am not going to use my own quiche dough. Oh, I'm cutting it backwards. I'm using one of the pre-made crusts that I've already used before in my video of the how to make a tomato quiche. So it's the same type. I'm putting this all in here. There we go. We're taking this over to the stove. I'm using this pan. I already put a little bit of oil in it before, but I'll put a little bit more. So we are going to saute the onions a little bit, and together with the herbs. Just to make it soft till they're translucent, and then we'll work on the rest for the quiche. Usually, today's Friday, and usually we do pizza on Friday, but I was like, I'm kind of pizzaed out. Let's make something else. Actually, yeah, on Fridays, I grew up in central Switzerland, which is, today I'm dropping everything, knocking everything over. It's one of these knockover days. Yeah, so I grew up in central Switzerland where it's predominantly Catholic, and on Fridays, I grew up not eating meat. And so the bakeries there offer, on Fridays, they offer quiche. And you can have just the plain quiche, obviously no bacon in it. Or you can have the quiche with the onion, the one that I'm showing you tonight, the Quiche Suisse. And yeah, you can just go and pick it up. So basically, that was our carry-out food. And I always refer quiche as the other pizza. So we had carry-out quiche long before we had carry-out pizza. That really didn't come popular till maybe 10 years ago or so. We really never had any carry-out food. It just did not exist. In fact, we didn't really have much of international restaurants at all. I mean, the restaurants were mostly, an international restaurant would be an Italian restaurant, and that was about it. Most restaurants were typical Swiss foods. We, at one point, got an Indonesian restaurant. And that was like, wow, that was a big deal. Not saying that in Zug or Zurich, in larger cities, they obviously, have more international food. But where I grew up, not really. And especially Chinese food didn't really become popular, or Japanese food first, till the 80s when the Japanese started to, travel to Switzerland. And then and later the Chinese, because they only want to eat Chinese food. So they had to adapt and open up other restaurants. I guess because of the cheese. All right, so starting to smell nicely, and I think we're pretty much done. I'm going to turn this off and let it sit here for now. Make sure it doesn't burn, but I don't think it will. All right, next. Yes, we're coming back here. And I still have my little mess. Maybe I'll clean up the mess real quick. It's my compost over here. All right, so I'm using a measurement, and I need... What do I need? Heavy whipping cream. And we need approximately... Oh, it's not even open yet. I guess I can pour as much as I want to. Nothing's coming out, right? So this is the liter. We need 4 deciliters, which is approximately, what is that? I label it. So this is, what is this? This is 1 quart. I would say less than half a quart. It's back in the fridge. All right, now it's the fun stuff. So we are going to put in 4 eggs. So this is egg number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Again, I'm throwing the eggs in the compost. Since I believe tomorrow is Earth Day. And then we are mixing this. We also need our good old pepper. As I stated before, is there ever a recipe that does not require pepper? Certainly not in the Swiss cuisine. And we need 3/4 teaspoon. No. We'll use the 1 teaspoon, and then we kind of eyeball. Oh, all right, so that's good. Remember that the cheese also has a lot of salt in it. So you can go lighter on the salt. But I'm a salt lover, I have to admit. That's another big difference between Switzerland and the US. In the summer, when it's really hot, they always tell you, make sure you eat enough salty food because you're sweating a lot, and then, you're losing salt, so you need to replenish your salt resources. I always think it's funny, and here it's like the opposite. Here it's like, oh, salt is so bad for you. And I'm not saying it's, particularly good, but it's not that bad either, because the human body does have a measurement. For example, let's say you're eating 1 teaspoon of salt, which obviously you can't. But let's say you were to eat that. What happens? you get very thirsty, right? So your body tells you to drink lots of water to flush out the salt. But what happens if you eat a teaspoon of sugar? Nothing, right? You just want another and another and another. So I think sugar is much worse for you than salt. Also, I think if you have already, kidney issues, then salt is probably not good. But for most people, I think don't have a problem with salt. But I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor, so. All right. So we switch that out. And now, oh yeah, maybe I need to get this thing out of the freezer. If I can find it. It's hidden somewhere in the back. Sorry, you see most of our refrigerator. All right, so I'm getting one of these pie crusts. Aldi has them in the frozen section, and you get 2 pie crusts for $3 approximately. And I think it's a great deal. Plus, it's not just a great deal. I think it tastes decent. I always open up the fridge and then gaze into it, and I forgot what I need. Obviously, I need cheese, and I also need Parmesan cheese. Now in Switzerland, we have our own version of Parmesan. It's called Sprint. It's the same thing, same principle as Parmesan cheese. It's it's crumbly, and you put that at the bottom. I guess approximately 2 to 3 tablespoons. We'll just kind of eyeball it. Then we're putting the herbs in. Ouch. Still hot. So we're just kind of spreading out the herbs. Now you could use obviously a whole lot more onions if you like onions. I can't really hold it, I'm too weak. There we go. We'll spread it out. And now what's next? I believe obviously we're putting, this is a mix between Gruyere and Swiss cheese. I'm struggling with opening this up. Why? Why? It did say tear here, which I did. Yeah, so I should have probably mixed it before. I don't know. I forget. Comes out differently every time I do it. But that's the beauty of cooking. Cooking is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. All right. So I think that's enough. And now we're pouring this in. I didn't do a good mixing job here. It's tough to, talk and focus on cooking and say something that makes sense and not mess up. I guess I'm not a multitasker. Now what I like to do is, of course I didn't clear out the oven. I always store my things in the oven, my cookie sheets and stuff. All right, so I use a regular cookie sheet underneath here because I'm always worried that it bubbles over and then it like drips all the way into the oven and makes a mess. So we're moving this slowly over. So I have that as protection underneath. And putting this in. I did not pre-warm the oven, but see, I already spilled some. All right, I adjusted the setting. I moved it to the lowest one, okay? And I cleared up the spill. So I moved it to the lowest one. And now we're closing this. And we are going to set it to 425 degrees. This is a gas oven. That's why I get away with it. If you have an electric oven, you might want to, start it up maybe 15 minutes earlier. But to me, once I turn it on, it's on because it's gas. And the first 15 minutes, we're having it at 425 degrees. So I'm setting a timer for 15 minutes. Correction, I miscalculated. We have to raise the temperature to about 475 for the first 15 minutes. 7 minutes have already passed, so it's fine. We'll just raise it now. Yeah, I converted it wrong. All right, so the 15 minutes are up and I'm immediately resetting the alarm to 20 minutes. I guess one less. All right, and now I'm reducing the oven temperature to 390 degrees. Let's do 375. I don't like to have the quiche overburned and brown and stuff. Now the second half of the cooking or baking process is over. And let me tell you, and now we're actually going to open this up and check if it's ready. Oh my God, it looks so good. And it smells so good. So it's still kind of liquidy inside here. Yeah, I think it needs a little bit more. A little bit more, maybe 5 more minutes. Because we don't want to burn it. And then we'll definitely take it out because even when you're taking it out, when it's still kind of like wobbly, liquidy, it's okay because it will, harden itself. The 5 minutes are up again. Still looking good. The outside is a little bit browner now, but that's as long as it's not burnt. Alrighty. See, and it's already a lot less wobbly. Sometimes all it takes is another 5 minutes. Yes, now it's perfect. Perfect. And yeah, I wanted to point out that quiche, we call quiche in Switzerland cheesecake. Käsekuchen. Käsekuchen. Same thing in Germany. It's Käsekuchen. So, but I don't want to call it cheesecake because, then there's a confusion with the American, the sweet cheesecake, which I love, but I like this one too. So, yeah, let me turn off the oven. There we go. Because it is getting hot and we don't need to heat up the house artificially. So I'm going to let it cool down a little bit and let it settle a little bit and then we'll cut it. And the beauty about quiche is that you can eat it hot, warm, or you can actually eat it cold. And in the summer, we usually eat it cold with a nice salad. Let's see if I can actually do this. Film with one hand and cut it with the other without destroying it. I like to use kind of like a zigzaggy knife, but not pointy, so not a steak knife. Nice and fluffy, that's how it's supposed to be. And the crust crunchy, but not burnt. So let me get a plate. All right, let's see if I can actually lift this out without completely destroying. The first piece is always the toughest. Yeah, nah, it's not gonna work. Let me try something else. All right, let me try this. Maybe I can lift it out. Almost, almost. Yeah, the first piece is always the toughest, and then the other ones are okay. Really? Really? Alrighty. Oh, I wish you could figure out, you could smell it. It smells so nice. So this is how it looks like. And you see all the herbs and stuff are mixed in. And it's really, yeah. Hope you enjoy. Talk to you soon. Bye.